Andrew, there was obviously a big safety breach yesterday. Talk us through what happened from your perspective and what are the next steps there?
Yes, there was a safety issue at the end of the race. As fans would know and as spectators would know, it's a synonymous part of Grand Prix racing where there is a controlled, and I emphasise the word controlled, access to the circuit post the race. We see it in Monza, we see it here, and we see it at many other events around the world. Unfortunately, however, on driver's right, a couple of 100 metres down past the finishing line, a couple of 100 metres before turn one, there was an uncontrolled ingress of people and patrons onto the grass verges, and a couple of people went onto the asphalt. Myself, my General Manager of Operations and others met with the FIA and the stewards last night. The stewards, quite rightfully, and ourselves, and we're already onto it, are going to conduct an investigation to understand the cause of this. We work every year to allow the fans to access the track at the end of the track after the cars have passed. This was clearly a breach of what is a very robust protocol, a protocol that's been developed and improved every year, and a protocol that we sit down with the officials from Motorsport Australia, security providers, engineering providers, Victoria Police, and we then not only do tabletop exercises, but we actually do simulations out on track to see that it works. Something hasn't gone quite right. That investigation's already been started. We've gone out and had a look at the area this morning, and we're going to make sure that we do a thorough investigation as we've been requested to by the FIA and the F1 stewards.
What can result from that investigation? Do you think there would be a ban of issues and fans going on the track after that?
Well, I would hope that there's not a ban, and I don't think there needs to be a ban, but what I would say is clearly you have primary, secondary and tertiary lines of protection, which are physical infrastructure barriers. You then have individuals who can look after those areas, and at all times race marshals are in conversation via their sector managers up to race control, and importantly we have security going back to our team in GP command, which is staffed by about 50 to 60 experts, and we also have what's called an ECC, an Emergency Coordination Centre, that has every emergency service in place. I think with the combination of infrastructure and modified and reviewed plans, which we always have to do, then next year it can happen appropriately. But clearly what happened yesterday was not a good situation. But what I also do say is thank you for common sense as well, because the fans probably realised the issue. It was somewhat confusing for everyone at the end of the race. Confusion isn't an excuse whatsoever. I just think there was a level of exuberance and excitement, given the large crowds and given the great race we had, that people wanted to get out onto the track, but they did so in a manner that wasn't safe.
So do you think security was lacking at that point?
Well, we don't know what was lacking because there's many factors, whether it's infrastructure or personnel. And what we'll do before we jump to any conclusions at the corporation is look at the dot plans, look at the infrastructure we had in place, talk to our area managers, but most importantly, look at the CCTV that comes from a number of sources. It comes from individuals who have actually, it's not CCTV, it comes from obviously the public opposite on turn one, driver's left. It comes from the CCTV that we have on the circuit, and it also comes from the race control CCTV that we had a bit of a look at last night up in race control with the stewards at sort of 9:30, 10 o'clock.
There was also some footage of people actually scaling some of that infrastructure, hanging on and watching the race, which was pretty dangerous to me, but what was your take on that?
Yeah, during the race, I haven't seen incidences where people would be scaling the debris fences during racing, but what I have seen, and it happens each year with the exuberance and excitement of having 50 to 100,000 people on the main straight at the conclusion, the debris fences can be scaled by those agile enough. It's not a safe practice, it's not a good practice. The police and MSS security are there to protect pit lane. Pit lane remained very, very safe. That was done in an exemplary manner, but one aspect of the crowd control didn't occur, and we've got to look and see why.